Hello and welcome to the podcast of our church here at St. John's German Lutheran Parish in Springvale. Today, our English edition.
We are the German Lutheran Parish in Southeast Melbourne, where we also speak English, and we wish you a great day and a blessed week.
Our topic for today are conspiracy theories, all about corona conspiracies and much more. I can't wait to talk about it with our guest, Iris Staunton. Iris grew up at the church and is also an elder. Welcome, Iris.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome. We have also an inspirational word from the Bible to encourage, to strengthen, to motivate, to comfort, and to lift you up and sustain you in the coming hours and days.
So before we start this very interesting topic, please, Iris, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning. As you said in the introduction, I grew up in this church. We came to Australia when I was under 2 years of age, and we lived in Victoria Avenue. And one of my earliest memories is my father taking me to church, and I was sitting on some lady's lap and started crying. And my brother and sister weren't even born, so really very young. And I had Sunday school with Mrs. Ude and many other people. So a lot of my life has been here, and a lot of important memories are part of this church. And I'm been lucky enough to have this connection for such a long time and to serve.
Oh, beautiful. And tell me, are you in the moment also in home office? Are you still working or are you working from home? What are you doing?
Yes, I'm currently working from home. I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs, and they did amazingly well to get us all to work from home. And that's been really nice. I actually am surprised. I was always worried that if I was working from home, I wouldn't get anything done, that I'd spend my whole time, wasting my time. But it's actually surprising how effective and efficient I can be at home. The only trouble is you need a bit, the setup isn't good sometimes ergonomically, and if it was going to be long term, I'd need to maybe do a few things, but otherwise it's been really good working from home, and it's meant that we've been able to be productive and keep serving and doing the job we need to do. My husband is still working. He's home 1 day a week, so that was quite interesting. He's home on holidays and I'm not, so I had to give him lots of jobs to do so that he couldn't just sit and watch telly while I was working.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are sitting in this, you sitting in the dining room, your partner maybe is on holidays or on vacation, can't go anywhere, of course, and you have to work. Someone's watching TV as you never had this environment before.
Yes.
I think it's very interesting.
It was very interesting. So yes, luckily we had some jobs, so that was fine, and he could do those jobs. So he went and helped his parents in the garden, and he helped my mum in the garden. So there was some little jobs he could do. So he wasn't home when I was home. And annoyingly,
and I remember you have a beautiful garden too. So especially, when we go into winter, there's a lot to do, isn't it?
Yes, there is. So he's been very busy. So it's been fun. It's been really, really good, actually.
Oh, good to hear. Good to hear.
And no commute travel.
Oh, that's been the best part. I've saved myself 3 hours a day. And I was saying to Pastor just before that I've been able to use some of that time to get back into exercising regularly. And I've really, really enjoyed that, because especially with winter coming, you leave, I leave the house at 7 o'clock in the morning and I get home 6:30 at night in the dark. It's very depressing. This has been fantastic. Really, really good.
Can imagine. 3 hours one way or both ways? 3 hours?
1.5 hours each way.
Okay. Oh, that's
a long
a
day.
long commute. Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking about conspiracy theories, we hear in the news about, from different countries, about people going to the streets, about demos, and a lot of questions around the coronavirus and its implications, and where, of course, the question where it comes from. Was it an accident? Was it released on purpose? Things like that. But then also very unexpected theories we might hear from people demonstrating in the street. And of course, there is a lot of material online. And that's quite difficult oftentimes to find the truth, to find out from where does this information come from. One that was very interested was connected to the 5G connection and the 5G towers that in some areas are put up because the 5G network is slowly implemented. And what do you know? Are you aware of this conspiracy theory? What does it have to do with coronavirus?
I think it's absolutely fascinating that this link between coronavirus and 5G. And I also think it's incredibly disturbing that people are burning down towers, and based on, apparently it was a Belgian doctor who made some vague reference in January, and the world has just jumped on the bandwagon. So in essence, they're saying that 5G radio signals use a higher frequencies than the previous radio frequencies that we use for telephones, and there's some theory that they can break down the barrier and allow the coronavirus to enter your bloodstream somehow. I think that's, if I've understood the coronavirus, that theory, that's how it works. But in actual fact, of course, there is no basis whatsoever for this. It's impossible for this to occur. And I think it's a good lesson for people to be careful about what we choose to believe, because we choose to believe things or not. And this is a really interesting example of how we can exercise our own brains to make a sensible decision about what we choose to believe.
I saw the same actually, and I think it was in the UK where they start burning down 5G towers. And I don't tell you guys where I live, but opposite from me is a 5G tower now as well. And, I can't change anything about it, but I don't want that anybody burns this tower down, as when they start working on it, that was from 10 at night until 5 a.m. and there was always a noise, which was absolutely annoying, and I don't want that to happen again. But it is actually really interesting how people think that there's a connection between the coronavirus and the 5G and starting all these conspiracy theories. It's very interesting. Why is this all of a sudden appears, and they're connecting that together?
I think we want to make sense of the world, so we need to be able to link A with B. And sometimes the link between A and B is not obvious, it's not simple, and it's not an obvious, there's not a direct link between A and B. But we, as humans, we want to know that. We want to say very simply, if you do this, this will happen or it won't. And that's one of and of course, the conspiracy theory is a very interesting and exciting way to spend your time and energy. The moon landing didn't happen. And so it becomes a very interesting, it's really interesting what people believe, what they can let themselves believe. My old next door neighbor is convinced that she's been taken by aliens as a child, that she was abducted by aliens. Okay. And fascinating, absolutely fascinating. That link.
Yeah, when you have someone living next to you who's thinking that's really close by, is normally, back then we had always conspiracy theories, yeah. Yes. But you bought a book and read about it. You are in your own world, I believe. But now, we have social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and all this kind of social media, and it spreads so fast. Yes. Like in the end, the virus. You put your video down and. Yeah, everybody looks at it, and everybody, or not everybody, but some people believe what you're actually saying, and
that's our conspiracy superpower, the social media. And the problem is too, because it's very difficult to find out if the sources are right or not, even if it's covered as a research paper. You always have to ask yourself, is there another intent, another agenda behind this post? Even asking yourself, is the account, the person you talk to, real or not? That there is no regulation in this regard that accounts have to be verified. You just suppose that someone sits behind there, an account, and it's a real person, but it doesn't have to be. It can be a fake account and with a clear agenda behind it. So 5G, do you recall any other conspiracy theory?
Oh, there's so many. And I mean, the moon landing is one. And I remember I was at church, I think I was in my early teens, and it was the Erich von Däniken, the astro.
Oh, yes, of course.
And it went through the world like wildfire. There was something on television and the whole world. And I remember our minister at the time was so fed up that in the end he gave a very blistering sermon about the nonsense that was Erich von Däniken and the theory of, because he just had enough. But that was another example of something catches your imagination, and without thinking about it further, it just takes off. And I'm thinking about things like health theories, that there's this black salve that people put on their bodies to cure cancer, and in actual fact, it eats through to the bone. Because when you're desperate, you will believe anything. Curing almond, eating almond, the kernel from inside an apricot will cure cancer in children. Things like that. There's 1,000 ways that people will, in desperation, cling on to something that's clearly not true.
Yeah, and I think especially, with the coronavirus, so many people are now unemployed. They are desperate. They don't know if I can buy tomorrow a piece of bread, as I don't know, especially in America, people, there are so many, I think 30 million are unemployed. That's whole Australia is unemployed when you think that in numbers. But I think, and people get desperate and they start listening to it. And as you don't have anything to do, you don't have a routine, you start believing it as well.
Yes.
And it's very disappointing knowing and hearing it's just another disease.
Yes.
It probably is no one's intention or fault or political maneuver. It's just another disease, another virus that comes up, and that's it.
Yes.
Can governments hide things or do things better? Sure, they could have done, and they will have to make these difficult decisions in future, but it's still a disease like any other disease. And it's hard to know that there is not really a different explanation for it.
It's very banal. It's not the flu, but it's a disease like a flu. So to make sense of that, it has to be more than that. It can't just be that somewhere in China someone got a disease from a bat and that's caused this much. That doesn't make any sense for some people. That's too hard to believe. So let's make it into something different. The Chinese government did it on purpose, and because they want to control the financial markets of the world. That was one theory that I read. There is no end to what people's imaginations, as they try to make sense of it, to break it down, possibly that's what it is.
It's very interesting.
Now and then I ask myself, should I consider it? Because usually I'm very skeptical of things like this, but then now and then the question, should I I don't know.
Could it be true? Could it be not true? Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's hard to, especially, when you think of something like, it's in a laboratory, China, and, they did it there and created there. And is it really, or is it from a bat? And you start thinking about it, and could it be right? Could it be not? Yeah.
But I suppose I think it's like lots of things in our life. You have to make a choice at some time and stick to that decision. So your choice is, okay, this is the coronavirus. I could read 500 websites that say that, if I drink bleach, for example, that church that sells water purifying drops, that's going to cure me. I could take a unproven vaccine, the way that President Trump is apparently doing, or I can just go to a reliable source. I'm going to choose to trust the Australian government, that they have my best interest at heart, that they are being truthful, that they're getting all the right information and doing all the hard work for me. And I'm going to choose to stick to that by and large. But that's the choice we all make about lots of things in our life. I choose to believe that vaccines are not harmful, but very useful, or, and then you go on from there. You just look at the best information available to you, and then you make a choice. And then that brings a certain level of calm and peace, I think, to how you go further.
Absolutely. And it is also how you put your question down into a search engine online. As when you put it down like, can it really help, or whatsoever, the search engine will always show you what you want to hear. That's a danger as well.
Well, I think years ago when I was going to school and uni, you had to actually use a book. And so if you go to the book, you know who the author is, you know who the publisher is. It gives a certain level of veracity. So if this is an Oxford professor that's written this book, you can be reliably convinced that they might know what they're talking about, more than somebody blogging on the internet and just saying whatever they want to say without any kind of filters. But
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
don't know who that person is. They can say whatever they like. You've got no way of verifying it. So I think that is I think you're absolutely right, Tim. It is the internet is fabulous, but you need to be careful what you take from that.
Absolutely. And how you're using it in the end. Yes.
Yeah.
It is, you mentioned in your last thought an important word, which I would like to invite you that we discuss a little bit, the word vaccine. That has a lot to do with conspiracy theories surrounding coronavirus. One, I give you one example, will be when a vaccine is available, everyone will blame whoever made it of being those who launched coronavirus in first place to sell us the vaccine.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
a very common.
Is it? I have not heard that. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
No, wow.
One in connecting to this is the question in regards to Bill Gates and his foundation, that they have a secret agenda for us all to be vaccinated, or some kind of hidden agenda we not see beside their interest to simply help and do good things in this area of world health.
Wow, that's all I can say. That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
Because if you think about Bill Gates, I mean, he's got more money than he could ever know what to do with. And I think he's been quite open about that. And he and his wife are actively trying to, for example, cure malaria. They really thought about what to do with their wealth, where to spend the money that they wanted to give. And they chose malaria as an illness that is so debilitating and causes so much problems. If you have malaria, you're too tired to work. A lot of, you know what I mean? It totally debilitates a whole continent, really, if you think about Africa. So the fact that he would now want to make a vaccine to make more money, it just defies logic that people would think that.
It can't be too good to be true. If you think about Bill Gates, probably that's an explanation.
I think the way that the Australian country and the Australian people have responded is, I'm really lucky and glad that I live in a country that and has a government and all those things, for all the faults, that have managed this as well as it has.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a lot of pressure now politically, with the inquiry question into the corona pandemic and the trade question in regards to other countries. So it's a lot of pressure also from us citizens in regards to the easing of restrictions. Can we travel? Can't we travel? And we still have very few numbers. It's really comforting to know.
Very comforting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which leads me to my devotion today. My devotion has reminded, so I started from this verse from Luke chapter 21:33. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Now, there are certain words that dominate our times, and coronavirus is certainly one of those words. We'll be interested at the end of this year to see, was this the word of the year? Or even worse, will there be another word? Hopefully not the worst one, but a better one that will be the word of the year. But what this verse from Luke reminds us, and it puts the question implicit, what are the things we count on? What are the things that not just pass, but that we can trust? Speaking today about conspiracy theories, that's an important question to start with. Can I trust this source? Can I trust these words or this information I receive? In regards to our daily lives, in regards to our relationship to social media or to the news, this always is a question that follows and surrounds us. What are words I can trust, I can build upon? We also experienced during the last weeks that there continuously were new announcements. I remember very well March month where from day by day there was another unbelievable restriction. No overseas travel, no planes flying, not being able to go outside, things we wouldn't really understand yet. That changed quite rapidly day by day. Of course, it was necessary. It's something that had to be adjusted. But that leads me to this very, very central question. What are words? What are things we really can base trust upon? Jesus says his words are like that. They are not bound by situations, or they are not just dependent on a certain time. Even when heaven and earth will pass, he says, but my words will never pass away. You always can count on them. And yes, we could have a discussion about what that means and is it true or not. But what I would like to encourage you today is to take it with you as a promise, to read the Bible, to read Jesus' words as a promise for you, that you can count on these words. No matter what circumstance, they will not pass. They will always be words that speak into the reality of your life and that always will make a change in your heart, lift you up and build you up and encourage you, no matter which situation heaven and earth are right now. That's my encouragement for you. Heaven and earth will pass away, things will change, but my words will never pass away, says Jesus. And we count on them. Amen.
Amen.
Dear listeners, dear congregation, did you watch our worship service in English or in German on YouTube or Instagram? We have the possibility during the last weeks. We aired some services online, and even now, when we have the possibility to celebrate with 10 members here at church, we still continue to do so. If you know someone without internet connection, or mom and dad at home, feel free to contact us. We are happy to assist and send out content through the post office. Enjoy watching and don't forget to share and subscribe. This helps us to get the word out. We thank you. We are also offering worship again at our church here in Springvale. At the moment, we are allowed to welcome 10 parishioners to our church. Please give the office or myself a call and secure a seat. And please don't just come to church. It's important that you register beforehand. For more information and details, visit our website or Facebook or Instagram account.
Thank you for the update, Peter. And as always, thank you for listening and sharing. Have a wonderful week with your family, friends, and loved ones. And we look forward to welcoming you again next week, this time again in German. Before we go, we had a lot of positive feedback about our last mental health podcast. Listeners, do you have a topic or you want to join us? Please get in contact with us. We are looking forward to getting your help and your input. Bye-bye. Take care till then.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Iris.
Thank you, Peter.